put you all on mute, just for sound. So if you have any queries during the workshop, please shout out, please let me know. I'm just going to share something on my screen just to give you an idea of exactly what we're going to try to look at tonight. And then at the end, you can always pick me up and go, you didn't mention everything. So let me just share my screen with you. So hopefully you can all see that. Okay, so tonight, what we're going to look at, so what you're going to experience in this workshop is the lymphatic system. I don't know how much you know about your lymphatic system, but your lymphatic system is a one-way system. It's a one-way system running from the periphery of the body. That means the sort of fingers and toes, trying to get it back towards the heart. When it gets back towards the heart, it then can flush out through, when we go to the bathroom, we get rid of any waste, any toxins, dead cells, things like that. So your lymphatic system is a little bit like rubbish trucks. You can imagine rubbish trucks going around a city, taking away, things that are no longer needed and moving them and transporting them somewhere else. It's also on the lookout for any infections, which is why you get white blood cells fill up your lymph nodes when you have a cold or something like that. So you feel your glands are a little bit swollen. That's because your body loads of white blood cells will go into that area to try and fight infection. So it is part of your immune system, but there are many parts of your immune system. So it's only really a small part of it. Now, because it's one way, and it doesn't have a heart to pump it. So your blood is obviously a circulatory system and it has a heart that pumps it. So it's pumping around the blood all the time. Your lymphatic system doesn't have that. So it is really reliant on movement to try and move it around the body, which is why we really do need to move our body. And that when we move, we can really stimulate the lymphatic system. So a few things we're going to look at in the workshop today is firstly, diaphragmatic breathing. So the diaphragm is your main breathing muscle, and we'll have a feel in a minute and just sort of maybe experience it moving. So your diaphragm is a muscle that runs all the way around the inner border of your rib cage. When you breathe in, it contracts and it draws down, which is, as it draws down, it pushes on your abdominal organs, which is why you feel your belly move when you're breathing diaphragmatically. It's not actually that the breath is going into your belly, but it's just that when the diaphragm contracts and pulls down, it pushes on the abdominal organs. They have nowhere to go but out. So you feel movement of breath in your belly when you're breathing diaphragmatically. Now, when you're impacted by cancer and we're scared and we're fearful, chances are we're more likely to breathe maybe using our shoulders, other muscles come into place. And often our breathing gets a little bit short and shallow because we're scared and we're anxious, and that's what our body responding, breathing like that. So we want to try and remind ourselves to breathe fully. And one of the main reasons for that is that when the diaphragm is moving, so again, it's contracting when you breathe in, it's pulling down, and when you breathe out, it sort of softens and it releases its contraction and it domes back up into your rib cage. This little movement that happens when you're breathing is like a mini massage inside your body, and it massages one of your main ducts that your lymphatic system moves on, which is fantastic news because it means that just by breathing, but fully breathing, diaphragmatically breathing, we're massaging our thoracic duct and we're helping to move fluid back towards the heart. So that's number one thing we're going to explore tonight. The second thing is, actually, we don't need to do too much hard work to actually stimulate the lymphatic system. The lymph vessels run very close to the surface, so they can be stimulated quite easily. Lymph nodes are a little bit deeper. They're also clustered around sort of joints. So the ones that we're going to look at today are going to be the armpits. And then B.K.S. Iyengar, who was a very sort of well-known yoga teacher, he called the groins the leg pits. So it's the armpits and the leg pits. The groins are really important because so much movement travels down through the groin. So if they get a little bit stuck and glued up, movement's not going to flow quite as freely. So we definitely want to free up the groins. And we also want to think of the body as a whole system. So even if you're maybe concerned about lymphedema in your arm or not getting lymphedema, if you're at risk of lifelong lymphedema in your arm, if you stimulate the legs, that will have a knock-on effect on the whole system. So even when we're stimulating the groin area, that's to help this system run really smoothly and freely. Now, so some things we're going to do today are going to be closing and opening maybe the armpits and the groins, for the reason that what we can do here is the third thing down the line, which is pumping movements. So when we close and we open, we close and we open, it's a little bit like having a hose pipe. And if you close the hose pipe for a moment, the water stops flowing. And then when you open up the hose pipe, it then kind of flushes through. Same sort of thing with our bodies. So by just changing the pressure, and it doesn't need to be much, it could just be closing your armpit and opening your armpit, and closing your armpit and opening it. Really simple movements can help just change pressure. And this sort of helps just give a little nudge and a little push for your lymphatic system. We're also just going to try and see what happens when we just give a little stretch around the neck. So we've got lovely lymph nodes in the neck and lymph vessels in the neck. So even sometimes just stretching out the neck when you feel the skin stretching, because the lymph vessels are so close to the surface, that's also going to help stimulate the area. Scar tissue. Now, scar tissue acts a little bit like a gate. So if you imagine in your body, there are areas where you've got some scar tissue, and that might be from surgery. It sometimes can be from overusing areas of the body. Sometimes you have a buildup of connective tissue, and this acts a little bit like a gate. So it's sort of preventing the flow, because it's just sort of stopping the movement. So we definitely want to free up any tight areas. So if you know you have sort of tighter areas in the body, we want to try and ease them out and sort of stretch them out a little bit to try and release that scar tissue. So again, fluid can flow really freely through the body. So things that sort of stretch out and open up areas that feel tight are going to be quite good also for our lymphatic system. We will have a little look at our calves, because you can think of your calves a little bit like a second heart down in your legs. So I said the diaphragm is like a second heart as well. So maybe this is our third heart. In your legs, if you can stimulate your calf muscle, what happens when you're stimulating your calf muscle, and you can do this literally by sitting, lifting your heels, lowering your heels, lifting your heels, lowering your heels. We can do it. We'll have a play standing. What this is doing is it's contracting muscles and then releasing the muscle, and contracting and then releasing. And same thing here, it's a bit like a pump. It kind of squeezes all the tissues in the muscle, and then it releases it, and then it squeezes it and it releases it. So again, it's doing this job of kind of just gently pushing fluid from your legs back up towards your heart. And we'll explore, because the calf muscles are a really strong muscle, really easy for us to stimulate on a day-to-day basis. So engaging muscles, they're going to act like a pump. And then what we will do tonight is we'll finish with a nice relaxing pose. Either if you have a wall handy that you can get your legs up, or a chair, just because gravity is a really useful tool for our lymphatic system. So anytime you have an area of your arms or your legs higher than your heart, I'm not going to get you doing headstands or anything crazy, but even just lying on your back, getting your legs up, the gravity then is just helping draw down fluid back down towards the heart. So we really can use our gravity at loads of times in our day. Even if you just stretched your arms up and made little fists with your hands, with your arms up in the air, this would be creating a little pumping sensation. So your hands are acting a bit like a pump, and they're pumping fluid back down. And if their arms are higher than your heart, gravity is also going to be helping you. So we've got gravity working, all the time. It doesn't take any time off. So that's something we can just use. We have at our disposal. Anyway, enough chat. It's more about experiencing it. So if there are any questions, please feel free to type them into the chat, and then I can answer them when we get to the end. So if there's anything I whiz through that you're like, could you go back and explain that again? I'll happily do that. But we'll experience it. So what we're going to do is we're just going to start by lying on our backs. The reason I'm saying lying on the backs, and if anyone prefers to stay seated, please do. Lying on the back, I think it's a little easier to feel the belly move, because gravity, again, is kind of working at this sort of angle on your tummy. So it's easy to feel movement of breath into your belly. But if you prefer to stay seated, of course, please do stay seated. So we're just going to come onto our backs, and you're just going to have your knees bent and feet flat on the floor, and you can just widen your feet a little bit and maybe knock your knees towards each other, and just take your hands down onto your belly. So with your hands down onto your belly, we're just going to start to notice our breath. So just for a moment, take a breath in through the nose, and then make a sigh out through the mouth. So breathe out and make a sigh, go ah, and then breathe in, make a sigh. And if you're congested at all, continue to breathe in using the mouth. If it's okay to breathe in and out through the nose, then you can switch to starting to breathe in and out through the nose. It's just quite nice. It warms up the breath, filters the breath, cleans the breath, for us. So you might just start to breathe in and out through the nose, but if not, continue breathing in using the mouth. And with your hands on your belly, just notice, can you feel breath moving down into your belly? So what's happening when you breathe in and breathe out? Is the belly responding to your breath? And it may be that it's not. So sometimes we can reverse breathe, which means, and it's often because of trauma or shock. And it may be that when you breathe in, actually your belly draws in rather than up. So if you notice that, you could place a cushion or something, or even after this workshop, place a bag of rice or something a little heavier on your tummy, so you've got something to really feed back, or even put a little bit more weight into your hands and see if you can just feel that gentle movement now, trying to get the belly to rise when you breathe in and get your belly to fall when you breathe out. So just feeling the movement of breath in the belly. And then just slide your hands up, and can you find your rib cage? So with your hands around the ribs, can you now feel the movement of breath into your rib cage? So with your hands on your lower ribs, what you might feel is something similar to an umbrella opening. So when you breathe in, you feel the ribs sort of expand into your hands. And then when you breathe out, you feel the ribs slightly close back towards each other. So ribs are expanding, they're moving outwards. And you can sort of picture, even though you can't actually feel your diaphragm, that when you're breathing in, it's on that inner border of your rib cage. So what you're feeling when you feel the rib cage moves, the lungs are expanding and the diaphragm is drawing down. And again, you're feeling some movement into the belly as you breathe in and breathe out. And then just take your hands for a moment to your chest. Fingertips can come close to your collarbones and just feel the movement into the chest. So can you feel the movement, belly, ribs, and chest? So feel the belly rise, the ribs expand, the chest expand. And sometimes you might notice that it's easier to breathe into one side of your chest than the other side. Sometimes we've guarded and protected areas. And then just keep one hand at your chest, take the other hand back down to your belly. So we're just trying to feel that complete breath. So when you breathe in, the belly rises, the ribs expand, the chest expands. And then when you breathe out, can you feel everything soften? And again, it's that diaphragm, that main breathing muscle is drawing in and up. And then although you can't feel that you're having an internal massage, I want you to just imagine that that's what's happening. So when you breathe in and the diaphragm is contracting and drawing down, you're exhaling, the diaphragm draws up. There's this internal movement which is massaging your thoracic duct. So just be aware that just by breathing right now, breathing full and diaphragmatically, you're getting this internal massage. So some days when we're low on energy or feeling fatigued and we don't feel like doing a lot of movement, just by pausing and breathing fully, we can start to stimulate the lymphatic system. So just by breath. And so just take a couple more breaths here, just breathing in fully and breathing out fully. And then we're just going to start to stimulate those armpits and those groins now. So you're just going to stretch your arms up to the sky, catch hold of opposite elbow with opposite hand. So it looks a little bit like a frame. And then walk your feet in. So your feet come close and they're almost touching, and they may be touching. And don't worry if that doesn't feel comfortable, they don't have to be touching. And as you breathe in, can you start to take your arms back towards your forehead so you frame your face? And then can you let your knees go wide? So your soles of the feet might come towards each other. And then as you exhale, can you bring your knees and your elbows back up to the ceiling? So inhale, start to frame your face. So we're not pushing into anything that feels like pain. Knees go wide, frame your face. And then as you exhale, knees to the ceiling, elbows to the ceiling. So inhale, frame the face, take the knees wide. And then as you exhale, knees to the ceiling and elbows to the ceiling. And just continue moving with your breath. So again, just check, can you still feel the breath move down into your belly? When you exhale, you might even be aware of the belly drawing in and slightly up as the diaphragm moves back up. So inhale, breath moves down into your belly, knees wide, frame your face. As you exhale, knees to the ceiling and elbows to the ceiling. And just two more like that, just moving with your breath. You might find with repetition, you might be able to move a little further. Exhale as you bring everything back up. And then last time, inhale, frame the face, knees are wide. And then exhale, knees to the ceiling and elbows to the ceiling. Now have a look at your forearms and just change which forearm is on top. So you're still holding onto your elbows, but you've now got the opposite forearm underneath. And just widen your feet so they're about hip distance apart. And can you just let your knees drop over to the left and take your elbows over to the right? So you're still holding your elbows, but what you might experience now is that your right armpit slightly opens, but your left armpit is closing a little bit because the arm is stretching across the body. Take a breath in, and then as you exhale, knees to the sky, elbows to the sky, and you're just going to change sides. So now your knees have gone to the right, but your elbows have gone over to the left. And again, just exploring that the left elbow or left armpit, sorry, is open, but your right armpit is getting closed a little bit by your right arm. And then as you exhale, bring the knees up and change sides. So we're just going to only move on our exhale. So take a breath in, breathe down into your belly. As you exhale, bring your knees up, elbows up, and just change sides. So your knees and elbows are going in opposite direction to each other. Take a breath in here. And then as you exhale, you're changing sides. And the movement of the legs is just also starting to stimulate around the belly area. We've got all these lovely lymph nodes in our belly area. And you might even sense again with the legs that one side the groin is opening and one side the groin is closing. So you've just got this little movement here, only moving as you exhale. Again, opening and closing, changing pressure around the groins and the armpits. And as you move on your exhale, there's a natural firming of the belly when you exhale, so that's helping support the movement, so it shouldn't feel like it's going into your lower back. And just a couple more on each side. So just moving on your exhale, take a breath in when you're in the pose, breathe down into your belly. Exhale, belly slightly firms as you change sides. Take a breath in, no movement. And then exhale as you change sides. And then take a breath in. And then just bring the elbows back to center, bring the legs back to center, and just hug your knees in towards you for a moment. So even just exploring here, notice when you hug your knees in, you're kind of closing the very top of the hip creases, so where our groins are. And take your hands to the fronts of the knees. And as you breathe in, just push your knees away from you, so you slightly open the groins. And as you exhale, just hug the knees in. So inhale, knees away from you. And then exhale, hug your knees in. So just exploring here how even a small movement like this is sort of opening and closing the groin. So opening and closing the fronts of the hips. Inhale, knees move away from you, and exhale, knees draw in towards you. And just a couple more times here. And then let the knees come away from you. And can you take your arms and your legs up towards the ceiling? And then can you just circle your hands and your feet? So again, we know that the lymph nodes are clustered around joints. So we want to open up joint areas in the body. And we've got our legs and our hands higher than our hearts right now. So we've got gravity helping us move fluid back down through the legs, change the direction of your circles. And you might be aware of muscles working right now. So you might already feel, oh yeah, there's some muscles working here. So we know when there's muscles working, they're contracting and they're releasing. And then can you interlace your fingers, stretch your arms up to the sky, and then see what it feels like to stretch your arms back towards your ears. Again, not pushing through anything that feels like pain. Take a breath in here. And then as you exhale, hug your knees in towards you. And keep your hands interlaced. As you breathe in, feet to the sky, stretch your arms back towards your ears. And then as you exhale, hug your knees in towards you. So inhaling, feet to the sky, arms stretch back towards your ears. Exhaling as you bend your knees. So now notice other joints that we're opening and closing. So we're bending at the knees, little bend at the elbows when we hug in, and then we sort of open up the knees and we open up the arms. And just two more like that. So again, hugging the knees in, inhale, feet to the sky, arms stretch back towards your ears, and then exhale, hug everything in. And then hold on to the fronts of your knees. With your knees bent, push your knees away from you, and now circle your knees wide and then back towards you. Push them away from you, circle your knees wide. And so we're just drawing individual circles with each knee. So you're moving your thigh bone around in your hip socket, so quite lubricating for your joints. But also, can you sense here how you're kind of opening the groins and closing the groin? So you're opening the groin, closing the groin. So again, this little change in pressure just helps to move fluid. Let's just change direction and go the other way. And then one last time, take your feet to the sky, arms to the sky. And can you point your toes and point your fingers up to the ceiling? And then can you flex your feet and draw your fingers towards your face? So you're sort of like you're pushing up, holding a tray with your hands. And now point your toes, point your fingers, flex your feet, flex your wrists. So just, again, if you move a little faster, what you'll feel is muscles in your forearms working, muscles in your shins and your calves working. And again, you're creating a little pumping action here. So you're starting to pump fluid maybe from the hands, the wrists, from the feet and ankles back down towards your heart. And again, we want it going in that direction. So it's definitely the right direction you want it going in. And it's a really simple movement, but it's quite tiring. You know, if I made you stay here for a lot longer, you probably feel the muscles really starting to work. So just check you're still breathing. Breathing in fully, breathing out fully, and then rebend your knees, hug your knees in towards you, and just draw some circles now with your knees glued together. So instead of separate circles, you're just encircling with the knees glued together. And then just change the direction and just circle the knees and go the other way. And then if you know you have a better side to roll onto, more comfortable side to roll onto, you're going to roll onto that side and just use your top hand to push down into the floor to bring you up to sit. And as you come up to sit, you might even want a blanket or something to sit on, see how you go. We're not going to be staying seated for too long, but you're just going to come to sit, and we're just going to separate our feet wide, like you're sort of almost in a squat position. And just for a moment, take your hands behind you. Now, this is easier if your feet are further away from you, by the way. So if you're feeling like it becomes too much, just slide your feet away from you. You can also just do one knee at a time rather than both. So you tuck one foot in and you do one knee at a time and then the other knee. And we're just going to let the knees just go from one side to the other. So again, a simple movement that kind of closes and opens up the groin. So can you sense one side is closing, one side is opening? And so just a really sort of simple movement. Again, feet further away from you is going to be easier than feet close to you. So you can have move that, and you can always just do one side at a time. If you want a little bit more stimulation around the belly area where we have all these other amazing, fabulous lymph nodes, bring your hands together and just move your legs. Sort of, you'll be stimulating around the tummy area to move the legs from side to side. I warn you though, you will start migrating off your mat, so you might find you start to walk on your sitting bones, so you sometimes have to shuffle back a bit, but you're just letting the knees just go from side to side. So again, just getting that sort of movement into the groins as you're just taking knees from side to side. And again, you could just, if you're just doing one side, change sides, so you've got the other side working. Lovely. And then can you bring the knees back up center and just bring your feet in towards each other? Again, the further they are away from you, the easier it might be. And you can take your hands behind you, push down with your hands so that you're not rounding, so you're not collapsing your lower back. And just push down with your hands to sit up tall. Now, this posture is also really important for our breathing. And you can imagine, think of this breathing muscle that goes all the way around the rib cage. If you're rounding your spine, it can't really move in quite the same way that it can if your spine is nice and long. So can you breathe all the way down into your belly? And maybe with your breath, can you just get your groins to relax? So instead of trying to sort of stretch out and do big movements, imagine your knees just gently lengthening out away from you. But with your breathing, can you, with your exhale, can you just let the groin soften and relax? So again, we're trying to release these areas so that fluid can flow freely through the front of the body. So just take 2 more breaths here, breathing in fully, and breathing out fully. And again, breathing in fully, and breathing out fully. Lovely, everyone. And then just bring the knees all the way back up. You're going to swing your feet around and we're going to come onto all fours. So you might prefer now to have a bit of blanket support underneath your knees. We only have 2 kneecaps. It's always good to look after them. So you might make a little fold in your blanket, bring your knees down onto your blanket, and then just take your shoulders slightly behind your wrists. I think that's a little kinder angle for the wrist. And let's just make our hips just rock a little side to side for a moment. Just getting a little bit of movement, maybe the side waist, the rib cage. So just exploring some of these tighter areas. And then can you start to maybe draw some little circles? Start small. So just see what it feels like to circle your pelvis. And then what happens if you start to make a bigger circle? And what you might explore is that as you make a bigger circle, you can sense you're kind of closing the groins and opening the groins. And you might start to sense that as your bottom draws back, you also get a bit of a stretch in the armpits. And if it's folding at the knees, if your knees don't really like being folded like this, you could put a second blanket at the back of your knees to give you a bit of space. And then come back to center, just take your circle in the opposite direction. So again, start small, feel like you're moving just your pelvis, and then just exploring what happens as you drop the bottom back towards your heels a little bit. Again, can you sense how you close the groins and then you release? And starting to get a little bit of movement, just stretching out into the armpits. And just a couple more circles. And then tuck your toes under, walk your hands in towards your knees. So the feet are really good. If we can stimulate the fascia, so you have the thickest fascia in the body is at the soles of your feet, the plantar fascia. So we just want to sort of stretch out the feet because that's also going to release that tissue to help move fluid back up. You might find your heels splay away from each other, so hug your heels in. Hands can stay on the floor, or you could bring the hands onto the thigh. This is going to be more challenging sitting on the heels, so you might prefer to actually take the pressure off, put the hands down, or even just come to high kneeling if you want to take the pressure off the wrist for a moment. And just take a couple of breaths here, just breathing in fully wherever you are, hands down, sitting back, high kneeling. Breathe in fully. So again, we want to feel the breath around the rib cage. So the ribs are like an umbrella opening, and then we know that diaphragm is contracting, drawing down, and we've got this internal sort of massage going on inside the body. And then bring the hands back down to the floor. Just untuck your toes and just give the fronts of your feet a little pad. Now, if you're losing toenails, obviously, please don't be padding painful toenails to the floor. You can always put a blanket underneath, and we'll just skip this bit. And then you're going to push down with your hands so your chest lifts away from the floor. Try not to change anything about the shape of your spine as you just slide your left leg back and see what it feels like to lift your left leg up. Now, we're not going to change anything about the shape of our spine, but as you exhale, can you just draw your left knee in towards you and then take it out to the side? So you're lifting the knee out to the left, straighten the leg back, and then bring the knee down to the mat, push with your hands and drop your bottom back towards your heels. Inhale as you come back up. We're going to change sides. So slide your right leg back, lift the right leg up, draw the knee in towards your chest, take it out to the right, circle the leg back, and then bring the knee down to the mat, push with your hands bottom towards your heels. Inhale as you come back up to all fours, slide your left leg back, pick the left leg up. As you exhale, draw the knee in towards your chest, don't round your spine. Take the knee out to the side, circle the leg back, and then bring the knee down to the mat and push with your hands bottom towards your heels. Again, you can always put a blanket as a spacer between your knees. Inhale as you come back up. Now slide the right leg back, lift the right leg up, draw the knee in towards your chest, circle the knee out to the right, extend the leg back, and then bring the knee down to the mat, push with your hands bottom towards your heels. Inhale as you come all the way back up. Slide the left leg back, pick the left leg up, draw the knee in towards you as you exhale, knee out to the side, circle the leg back, and then knee to the floor, push with your hands bottom towards your heels. We'll do one more on each side. So inhale as you come back up, slide the right leg back, lift the right leg up, you don't need to lift it too high. Exhale, draw the knee in towards you, and then knee out to the side, extend the leg back, knee to the mat, and bottom back towards your heels. Inhale as you come all the way back up, slide your left leg back, and then lift the left leg, knee out to the side, circle the knee, knee towards your chest, out to the side, circle it back, and then knee comes back down to the mat, push with your hands bottom towards your heels. I think we're finishing on the right side, so inhale, come back up, right leg extends, draw the knee in towards you, knee out to the side, circle the leg back, and then bring the knee back down to the mat, push with your hands, bottom comes back down towards your heels. And then inhale, come all the way back up to all fours. And you walk your hands in towards your knees. Come up for a moment to high kneeling. So again, if you need a little bit more padding, just fold your mat a little bit more. And then as you breathe in, can you just reach your arms forward and float your arms up? And then as you exhale, just lower your arms back down. So if you need a bit of support, one arm needs more support, interlace your fingers. Breathe in as you float your arms up. And then exhale all the breath out as you lower the arms down. So just concentrate on your breath for a moment. So breathe in fully as the arms reach up. And then exhaling fully as you lower the arms back down. Lovely. So breathe in fully as you reach the arms up. Exhale all the breath out. Can you maybe even sense how your belly draws in and maybe slightly up? So inhale fully. Last time. And then exhaling fully as you lower the arm back down. Perfect. And then we're just going to step our right foot forward. So again, you might need more padding for that back knee. If anyone has finds that they just can't bring the back knee down to the floor, let me just show you very quickly how you can always do lunges with a chair. So chairs can be really useful. You sit sideways to the chair in the kind of lunge position. So you can do this without the knee touching the floor. So if anyone's really struggling with knees, please feel free to sit. So right bottom cheek would be on the chair and left knee wouldn't be touching anything. So right hand's going to come onto right thigh. Now, what we want to do here is make sure we're not moving from our lower back here. So it's the pelvis is shifting forward and back. And we're trying to get to open up the front of the hip. Again, open up this groin area here. So if you really don't feel much of a stretch, you can always try pushing your right foot or moving your right foot a little further forward. So there's more distance between your right heel and your left knee. You've got more length here. Right hand's going to be on your right thigh. And then as you breathe in, sweep your left arm forward and up. Make a fist with your hand at the top. And then release the fist as you lower your arm back down. So as you breathe in, reach the left arm forward, make a fist at the top. And then release the fist as you lower your arm back down. Inhale, sweep the arm forward, make a fist. And then exhale as you lower the left arm back down. And just two more like that. Inhale, make a fist at the top. Release the fist as you lower the arm back down. So you're creating a pumping action. You've got a bit of gravity and you're opening up this front of the left hip. Lower everything back down. Push with your right foot, come to high kneeling. And this time, just turn your palms forward. And as you breathe in, sweep your arms out to the side and up. So just exploring range of motion here. And then as you exhale, just lower your arms out to the side and back down. So just check back in. Think of this just as a breathing exercise. Inhale fully. And then exhale fully. Can you exhale all the breath out? Maybe noticing a little bit of movement of belly in and up, that internal massage. Inhale fully. And then exhaling fully as you lower the arms down. And now just to open up a little bit into the side body. This time as you breathe in, float the arms up. And as you exhale, can you drop your left hand down and just take a little side bend over to the left. And then breathe in, reach the left arm back up. And then exhale, drop your right hand down, take a little side bend over to the right. And then breathe in as you come all the way back up. And then exhale as you lower the arms back down. And now we're just going to step the left foot forward. So again, left hand's going to go onto your left thigh. And already here, you might feel some sort of stretch sensation through the front of your right hip. And if you're not feeling anything, just see if you can create a little bit more length between your knee and your foot. Left hand on your left thigh. As you breathe in, shift the pelvis forward. Right arm reaches up, make a fist at the top, and then release the fist as you lower the arm back down. So inhale, right arm reaches forward, make a fist at the top. And then release that fist as you lower the arm back down. And now just continue moving with your breath. So if I'm too slow or too fast, you just move with your breath because you still want to be breathing in fully and breathing out fully. So if I'm making your breath a bit short or it's not comfortable, you just move at your own pace. Just a couple more like that. Inhale, make a fist, and then release as you lower the arm down. Two more like that. Inhaling fully, and then exhaling fully. So inhale, create a little pump with your hand, and then release. And then from here, we're going to come up to stand. So if you need support of anything around you, you can catch hold of that. If not, hands onto your front thigh, tuck your back toes under, push off your back foot and see if you can step forward into an imaginary chair. Maybe even just bring your forearms down onto your thighs. So the quadricep, this main muscle at the front of your thigh, is a really good muscle, big muscle to help pump fluid. So you can see if you can sort of get that muscle working now, but now you need to stay with your breath because your body's starting to go, what's going on? You know, this is hard work. Stay with your steady breath, breathing in fully, breathing out fully. And then walk your hands up onto your thighs. Use your legs, not your lower back, to bring you all the way up to stand. And then as you come up to stand, interlace your fingers. So remember, we talked about our calf muscles. So our calves are really strong, and you can just try it yourself. If you breathe in, can you just lift your heels? So this is a muscle that's just lifted your entire body weight away from the floor. So it's a really strong muscle, and then lower the heel back down. So again, think of this as a little mini heart at the bottom of your legs. As you breathe in, can you sweep your arms forward and up? And then as you exhale, can you lower your heels and lower your arms back down? So I think it's a really good movement and really easy to do. Again, you can always be close to a wall if you feel balance is evading you a little bit, but you're really stimulating the lymphatic system here because we're breathing in fully and we're breathing out fully. We've got gravity helping us because the arms end up higher than the heart. The calf muscles are pumping, they're working. And you're closing the armpits and opening the armpits. So you've got quite a few of the actions we want here going on. So I think if you had one takeaway from this workshop, this would be quite a good one to add into your day. Again, calf raises can be done seated. You don't have to be standing to do them. But just breathing in, sweep the arms forward and up. And then exhaling as you lower the heels back down. And just last time, breathing in. And then as you breathe out, you're just going to lower the arms back down. And then just give your wrist a little circle. So just circle your wrist in one direction. And then just start to take your hands a little higher as you circle your wrists. And then change the direction, circle the other way. Okay, everyone, breathe in fully. And breathing out fully. And then just release your arms back down. So if you've got a blanket or anything on your mat, you can just take the blanket off your mat. You can put it out to one side. And then step back up to the front of your mat or whatever you're practicing on today. Keep your right foot forward and just step your left foot back. Perfect. And just check you've got enough space so you don't feel too wobbly. Right foot a little to the right, left foot a little to the left. And then just bend your front knee, and as you breathe in, sweep the arms forward and up. And again, make a fist at the top with your hands. And then as you exhale, lower your arms down, straighten your front leg. Bend the front knee, breathe in fully, reach the arms up, make a fist. Exhale as you lower your arms down. So if you need to support one of your arms, you can come back to the interlaced fingers, if that feels a better option for you. And just sort of noticing which muscles do you feel working. So maybe the muscles in the front of that right leg, the quadriceps are working again, and you're kind of contracting the muscle for a moment, and then you're releasing out of the pose. Lovely. So bend the front knee, breathe in as you sweep the arms up. Exhale as you lower back down. One last time, breathing in, sweep the arms forward and up. And then exhale as you lower back down. Push up your back foot. Step up to the front of the mat. Take your hands to your hips, and let's just draw some little hip circles. So just get a little bit of movement. Again, just noticing tighter areas of the body. So we want to release out these tighter areas so fluid can flow really freely through the body. That's generally our aim. And then go the other way. Just circle the hips and go the other way. Check your breathing in fully and breathing out fully. Lovely. And then with your left foot forward now, step your right foot back. So again, if you need more support with your arms, interlace the fingers so that a stronger arm can help an arm with limited range of motion. If not, you can keep the arms free. Bend your front knee, breathe in, sweep the arms up, make a fist at the top, and then release the fist as you lower the arms back down. Bend the front knee. So again, think of this as just a breathing exercise, but you've got a little bit of movement in the body. And remember, our lymphatic system doesn't have a heart to pump it around. So we're relying on all this movement to help just gently sort of stimulate the lymphatic system. Inhale, make a fist, and then exhale as you release. Bend the front knee, breathing in, make a fist. And then exhale as you release. Inhale fully. Exhale fully. And just two more like that. Inhaling fully Make the fist and then just release. So you feel like you're really opening and closing the hands. The hands might really feel like you're sort of stimulating them. Exhale as you lower back down, and then just step forward up to the front of the mat. Soften your knees for a moment. Just draw some little knee circles. So hands to your knees, you're just circling the knees. Change direction, circle the knees the other way. And then come back to center. So you're just going to put a little bend in your knees, and imagine you're trying to sit down into an imaginary chair. So you can be quite high like a bar stool, that would feel fine. And if you want to work a little bit more challenging, go a little bit deeper. Again, sort of working these quadriceps. And then just keep your hands on your hips. Can you push down with your feet and start to become light on your right foot, and just cross your right leg over your left, like when you're sitting at a desk. And then uncross the legs. And now just change sides, so cross the other way. And then come back. And if this feels too much, you could always put a book or something to the side of your feet so your toes come to a book. And you're just going to keep just sort of changing sides. So again, can you sense how you're closing the groins and then opening the groins? And then you close the groins, whoops, and then you open the groins, close the groins, and open the groins, close the groins, open the groins, close the groins. Left leg over is the last one, and then just push down with your feet and come up to stand. Just give the legs a little shake. Okay, and then we're going to come back into the pose and we're going to stay. So put the bend in your knees, sit back into an imaginary chair. Can you again become light on your right foot, cross your right leg over your left? And what I meant by a book was you could just place the book to the outside of your leg and put your foot on it. So if you find the floor doesn't quite come to you, you could also do this with your bottom against the wall. So you've got your bottom pushing into the wall for a bit more support. And then just stretch your arms out wide. And can you take your left arm on top of your right and just start by giving yourself a big hug? And if it feels okay, some of you might stay here, press your elbows away from you, or some of you might start to bring the backs of the hands or the palms towards each other. That might feel comfortable if it doesn't stay here. And I just want you to have a few little pulses here. So can you sit a little deeper, squeeze the thighs, and then lift up a little bit? So just a small movement, you're just sitting a little deeper, and then lift up. And then last time, sit a little deeper, feel like you're hugging everything in, and then we're just going to release. So you're going to uncross your legs, release your arms, turn your palms forward, breathe in, sweep the arms up. And now I'm just going to lower down so you can see. You're going to make a little diamond with your hands. You're staying standing. Catch hold of your right wrist and just take a little side bend over to the left. But keep your right elbow bent to begin with, just to explore maybe sensations, armpits or chest. Some of you might find you can start to straighten the arm and that feels okay. And you might have discovered that actually it was a better stretch when the elbow was bent, and we're all different. So you'll find one that works for you. Breathe in as you come back up, and then exhale, lower your arms down. And then breathe in, float the arms up. Again, bend the elbows, so it's like a diamond shape. Catch hold now of left wrist, little side bend to the right, and just explore what happens if you straighten the arm. Is it better actually when the elbow is bent? So again, no pain, but you might find intense areas or tight areas around the armpits. Breathe in fully, breathe out fully. And then inhale as you come all the way back up. Exhale as you lower the arms down. So we've got the other side to do. So you're just going to bend your knees. So if you had a book and that was useful, put it over to the other side. Bend your knees, sit back into your imaginary chair, and then cross your left leg over your right. So again, toes can come to the floor, to a book. Squeeze the legs, stretch the arms out wide, take a breath in. And now exhale, right arm goes on top of left. And again, give yourself a big hug. Feel like you're trying to separate your shoulder blades away from each other. Press your elbows forward, and you could stay here, or some of you might find it's comfortable to bring the backs of the hands or the palms towards each other. It looks a little bit like this. This may be more comfortable though. And then just little pulses. So can you sit a little deeper and then lift? And just sit a little deeper and lift. So again, that sort of slight change in pressure. You'll feel your muscles working in the legs, I'm sure. Quadriceps will be working. One last time, sit a little deeper. And then come up to stand, uncross the legs, release the arms down by your side, breathe in, sweep the arms up. And again, one more time, bend your elbows, catch hold of your right wrist, little side bend over to the left. Maybe the elbows stay straight, maybe you keep a bend in it, you're just having a little play here. Breathe in as you come back to center, exhale as you lower the arms back down. And then again, turn the palms forward, breathe in as you sweep the arms up. Bend the elbows, little diamond shape above your head, so it looks a bit like this. Catch hold of left wrist and then little side bend to the right. And sort of breathe into any tight areas you can feel on this left side of the body. Lovely, everyone. And then breathe in as you come back to center. Exhale as you lower the arms back down. Okay, we're going to come back down onto our mats. Now, if you know that you find it challenging getting the arms above the head, I would put a pile of cushions or blankets above your head, so not underneath your head, and I'll show you what I mean. It's just to give us a little bit of support here above our heads. So you're just going to come down onto your back. Now, before you come down, because our next thing we're going to do is either take the legs up the wall. You might want to be close to a section of wall, or bring your chair in for legs over the chair instead. And I'll show you both. So I'll just bring my chair in. So I've got both options I can show you. And again, this is just going to be to finish with, to sort of allow the legs to be slightly higher than the heart. But first thing we're going to do, so we're going to put our pile of blankets above our head. Come down to lie on your back. So again, your head isn't on your blankets, but they're just behind you, so that when you take your arms back towards your ears, you've got something to rest on your arms on. And you can just try it here. Does it feel okay to stretch your arms back towards your ears, or do you need more height? So you definitely don't want to be in any pain. And you can always bend your elbows. The arms don't need to stay straight, but we just want to be able to rest our arms on something. So arms are going to go back by your ears. And then can you take your right foot across to the right corner of your mat? So if you look down, the right foot's gone to the right, and then bring the left foot over to join the right. And it may feel comfortable to cross your left ankle over your right ankle. And you can see, and then wiggle your head and shoulders now and your arms over to the right as well. So from above, you'd look like a little slither of a moon, like a crescent shaped moon. And you've got more space on the left side of the body and less space on the right side of the body. So the right side of the body feels like it's shortening, but we've got all this lovely space on the left side of the body. Now I want us to come back into our breathing. So again, when you breathe in, can you feel your belly respond to the breath? And maybe your ribs, so you might feel the movement of breath in the ribs. And when you exhale, can you feel maybe the belly drop down towards the floor? So as you breathe in, belly rises. Maybe feel that movement of breath into your rib cage. And then as you exhale, can you soften? Can you let go? And let's just take 5 more breaths like this. So breathing in fully. And breathing out fully. Breathing in fully. Belly rising, breathing out fully. Inhale fully. Exhale fully. One last time, breathing in fully. And breathing out fully. And then if the legs are crossed at the ankles, uncross the legs. Walk your feet back to center. Wiggle your head and shoulders back to center. And for a moment, just take your arms down by your side, just so you can notice the effects of, sometimes again, our stretches don't need to be really big and like we're pushing through things. They actually can feel, you can make them quite gentle, but just feel whether you've got more space on this left side of the body now than the right side of the body when you breathe in. You might even feel a little longer on one side. And then can you take your left foot over to the left corner of your mat, and then bring your right foot over to join your left. Maybe your right ankle crosses over. Stretch the arms back towards your ears. Again, they're resting on your blankets, and just wiggle your head and shoulders also over to the left. So again, you're this little slither of a moon, a little crescent moon. More spaces in the right side of the body than the left side of the body. And now all you need to do is breathe. Just breathe in fully and really stay with the breath. The other advantage of really staying with your breath is it just gives you a bit of a break from your mind, from your thoughts. So our mind's always active and it's always looking out for dangers because that's what it's designed to do. It's there to protect us. So just noticing that when you focus on your breathing, you're really in the present moment. And when your mind wanders, it's probably because you forgot to consciously breathe. So you notice your mind wandering and you come back again to the movement of your belly rising as you breathe in and your belly falling as you breathe out. So let's just take 5 more conscious breaths. So breathe in fully, belly rises. Notice what happens to your belly when you breathe out. Feel the breath in your rib cage as you breathe in. Notice maybe small movement on your rib cage when you breathe out. And when you breathe in, imagine you're breathing from the inside out. So there's the movement of breath into the ribs. Diaphragm is contracting, drawing down, belly moves. Exhale. The diaphragm is softening and drawing back up into your ribs. So inhaling fully. Exhaling fully. Inhaling fully. And exhaling fully. And now, if you cross the legs at the ankles, uncross the legs. Walk the feet back into center, wiggle your head and shoulders back into center. Just take your arms down by your side and just take a breath in. And take a breath out. And then put a bend into your knees and you're just going to roll over to one side for a moment. Push down with your hand and come up. So we're just going to finish with elevating our legs. So it could be the chair option. And if it's the chair option, it's sort of pretty simple. You're just going to rest your calves on the seat of the chair so that the legs are elevated. You've got a bit of fluid moving down, back down towards the heart. The other option you can take is to sit sideways to a bit of wall. And if you sit sideways, you don't have to do too much shuffling to get into the pose because that can be the challenge. And then you're just going to come onto your back and sort of swing your legs up the wall so your feet can just rest against the wall. You might want a blanket or something underneath your head. You could even put a blanket underneath the pelvis to slightly elevate the pelvis, so also the pelvis is a little bit higher. But if not, just resting your legs up against the wall or over the chair. And then if you have any eye pillows, anything like that, you could put them over your eyes. That can feel quite nice. So you just completely, I think this pose is lovely because it's a really good example of how you can achieve something by doing nothing. So at the moment, you're just going to lie, legs are going to be elevated over the chair or up the wall, nothing else to do, nowhere to be, nowhere to go, and just come back again to the breath. So just like we did when we were lying on our back, and as we've been doing the whole way through the class, can you just come back to your breathing? Can you breathe in fully? Can you breathe out fully? You're breathing in fully and you're breathing out fully. So again, can you feel the belly rising? Can you feel the belly falling? Can you feel both your shoulder blades on the floor? And if you feel like your sort of shoulders are slightly lifted, just separate your arms a little bit away from your body and turn your palms to face up. This will help to externally rotate the arms. And you should feel both your shoulder blades on the mat. So a bit of space between your arms and the body should help with that. And the two shoulder blades on the mat, quite important because that helps us to open up the top part of the chest. So again, we're trying to free up any areas that feel a little bit stuck and a bit glued so that energy can flow freely. So palms are up and legs either lifted onto your chair seat or up the wall, whichever feels like better option for you today. And then what I want you to do is just start to count your breath. So just count your breath when you breathe in. And then count your breath as you breathe out. Count your breath as you breathe in. And count your breath as you breathe out. So a good piece of information would be that when you breathe in, your pulse rate speeds up. And when you breathe out, your pulse rate slows down. So when you breathe in, you energize the body. And when you breathe out, you calm the body. So especially as this is an evening workshop, or maybe to try and create a little bit of calm in the body, you might see if you can shift your count so that you breathe in, but you breathe out for a slightly longer count than you're breathing in. So it may just be by one count. So just exploring, if you're breathing in for 3, can you breathe out for 4? If you're breathing in for 4, can you breathe out for 5? And just have a sense that you're just trying to make your exhale a little bit longer. So this is really calming for the nervous system. And that's really important because when the nervous system is calmed, the body is able to repair, and the body isn't able to repair when we're in sort of fight or flight, when the body isn't feeling calm. So our immune system doesn't function fully when we're in that fight or flight state where our breath is erratic or we're feeling anxious. But when we're using the breath to calm the nervous system, then actually our immune system starts functioning fully again. So part of boosting our immunity definitely has to include our breathing. Breathing fully down into the belly, but also trying to smooth out the breathing so that it is calming and soothing to the nervous system. So it's taking us out of fight or flight, and it's putting us into the calm side of the nervous system, which is called rest and digest. It means the body starts to rest, repair, very important, immune system functioning, but also digesting fully. The digestion also is affected when we're in fight or flight. We don't need to be digesting food if we're needing to flee or fight a situation. So all these things sort of stop happening. So just staying with the breath just for a few more rounds, counting your breath in, seeing if you can just lengthen the exhale a little bit, both shoulder blades on the mat. And I'm just going to talk you through a few areas of the body. You don't need to move them, but you might just bring your awareness to those areas of the body whilst you count your breath in and count your breath out. So soften the soles of your feet and the ankles and the calves and the shins, the backs of the knees, the quadriceps and the hamstrings. And just allow the groins to soften. So again, we can allow this fluid movement through the groins, soften the belly so that we can breathe into it. Soften the chest and shoulders and feel the weight of your arms. And bring the awareness into the palms of the hands. Can you soften the thumbs, index fingers, middle fingers, ring fingers, and little fingers? Soften the throat and the jaw. Feel the breath just gently caressing your nostrils, unless you're using the mouth to breathe. And then let the eyes just soften down into the head. And then just start to bring a little bit of movement back. So wriggling the fingers, starting to wriggle your toes. So sometimes when the legs have been elevated, your feet don't feel like they're yours anymore. So you might bend your knees and just draw your knees in towards you and maybe circle the feet or the ankles. Just bring a little bit of movement back. And then when you're ready, you're just going to roll to one side. So any side that feels comfortable. And again, press down with your top hand to bring you back up to sit. And you could sit in your chair, or if you're comfortable sitting on the floor, you're just going to sit on the floor as you come up to sit. And as you come up to sit, just take your left ear towards your left shoulder. Bring the head back up, take right ear to right shoulder, just exploring any stretching sensation you feel around the neck. And then left ear to left shoulder. Bring the head back up and then right ear to right shoulder. Bring the head back up. And now left ear to left shoulder. And then just lift your chin up for a moment and just notice where you're feeling the stretch. So it may be that you get it sort of underneath the jaw or round towards your ear. And then keep the ear traveling towards the shoulder, but now just drop your chin towards your shoulder. So you're looking down towards that left shoulder, just noticing. Again, are you feeling any skin stretching? So we know the lymphatic vessel is very close to the surface of the skin. And then bring the head all the way back up. And just make a no sign with your head for a moment. Just turn your chin from one shoulder to the other before we change sides. Come back to center and now right ear to right shoulder. And then keep the right ear towards the right shoulder, but just lift the chin. So again, just exploring, what do you feel? And then keep the ear towards the shoulder, but now drop the chin down towards your shoulder. So you're looking down and just noticing again, any stretch sensation you feel in the neck. And then lift the ear away from the shoulder, come back to center. And again, just make a little no with your head. And then just keeping the eyes closed, just take a full breath in and a full breath out. And just bring your hands into prayer position just for a moment, or rest one hand on the center of the chest and the other hand on top of that if you prefer that. Just take a moment tonight to give thanks to someone or something. Maybe giving thanks for the gift of our breath. And just observing what you feel like now. So what are the effects of breathing and moving for sort of 60 minutes or so? And may peace be above us, below us, and all around us. But most importantly, may peace be within us. And so with a quieter mind and an open heart, namaste. So thank you all for showing up tonight. I'm going to stop the recording in case there are any questions or anything.